I can still vividly remember my Hockey Night in Canada debut at the age of 26 in Maple Leaf Gardens, and so it gives me a personal pleasure, and on behalf of everybody at Hockey Night in Canada, to welcome a 26-year-old Ron MacLean, sitting in an old familiar seat at the Gardens. Ron, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you, David, and let me tell you, I'll keep this seat warm for you. I know you will be here still from time to time, but to you and Sharon and the kids, all the best in setting up your new home in Vancouver.
Honestly, Dave, my heart rate was 190 or 200. Amazing to look at that, isn't it?
Like mine now, never say never, but I did not think I'd be wearing this jacket ever again on air. So thank you for the opportunity.
You know, Dave, a lot of us would love to take credit for the masterstroke to have you on tonight, but it was my beer league hockey team. Tuesday night, we were sitting around. One guy says, "Be nice to see the Baby Blues," and then two guys together said, "Be great to see you." And I want you to know that for the viewer, it's a total thrill. So when you heard we'd invited you on, what kind of thoughts ran through the last couple of days?
Just one, that I hoped I'd have the opportunity to say that I think I'm here representing many others who wore this jacket and do not do so any longer. Maybe some of them are watching, and obviously can't name them all, but Brian McFarland, Howie Meeker, Dick Irvin, Jim Rodson come to mind. Hello, if you're out there, and of course, many others who are no longer with us. I'm thinking of all of them tonight, and hopefully the viewers are too.
The window of our history with the Baby Blue is your history, Dave. It came in while you were our captain, and it ended 1 year after you moved on to great things. Tell me about what the impact of the jacket was, what its meaning was.
Well, we kind of joked about it at first. I don't know how many times I was stopped away from the rink and asked which movie theater I ushered at or what the price at the gas pumps were that day. But you grew into it. Obviously, we had no choice. Nobody said, "Do you want to do this?" Don hadn't arrived yet to prove that you could say no and get away with it. And I'm looking forward to his version of tonight. I'm sure he has to plug it in. Then, yeah, it became part of the deal, and I think the idea was a brilliant one. If somebody said, you know, we want this to be as distinctive as anything else on the show, because it came to be that, and you know, here's proof we can still do it and have people of a certain age remember it fondly, and those who never saw these before should probably learn about them.
It is old school in a way, and there's lots. You brought some pictures of Howard Cosell, Brian Williams, and we all tried this teamwork. But it was a mainstream media kind of under challenge when you took over. That's when cable was exploding, and so the mainstream media were held, the networks, to a higher standard, and you were that. You were the journalist for the first time. We had somebody kind of cutting at issues with the National Hockey League, with the CBC, your employers.
We're here to praise the jacket.
Yeah, but
not the people who wore them.
Well, let me ask, and that's beautiful, and that was always one of my favorite exchanges you had with Grapes when you said, "Who's the best coach in the NHL?" And Don says, "You mean other than me?" And you said, "Well, no, be humble for just 1 minute." And you asked me the question, and we thought the answer was going to be Scotty, and you said, "No, it's Toe Blake."
How did you feel wearing it?
Well, I'm like you. I always felt like I was taking a bow unnecessarily. I felt like I knew, you know, there's a saying, Dave, that it's better to have a better brand than a better product. And I knew I was going to be lucky, surrounded by Dick Irvin and Bob Cole and Don Cherry, to suddenly look great. So I felt like I was getting to bow and be received well, just because I was on this amazing team. That's how I felt. So I was grateful for it, but I also thought maybe we were standing out a little. And as a journalist or a broadcaster, is that right? Am I?
Well, it's fine to stand out as you're walking around the rink, because you could, you know, always heading for the dressing room, we better get them there fast, or wherever I was going. Once you get out on the street and went where you were going, you just felt a little sheepish. Should I really enter this bar? We can say that.
Yeah, think of where it went.
Well, we had our own after hours back then. So it wasn't televised. Yeah. But pretty soon you said, well, it's kind of silly to bring extra clothes for the post-game fun. So shrug your shoulders, and
they didn't breathe. They absolutely didn't breathe. They were stinky after dry cleaning a couple of times, but man, it was fun that they were such a part. And as I say, you don't want to hear that you kind of changed the way the show was done, and that's a big part of why this brand. Last thing, it superseded the CBCs. It superseded the National Hockey Leagues. It became so big that it was a problem for the network, problem for the National Hockey League in a way.
Yeah, the jacket took on a life of its own, as did the theme music, which perhaps I shouldn't mention. But what am I here for if not to get into a bit of trouble, right? So those two things to this day are a reminder of what I used to do, and that's a pretty good way of reminding me. You still have a blue jacket? I get asked that all the time, and I used to have about a dozen, and all but one went to charity, as this one will. They were powerful in that regard, and hopefully will be tonight. I'm played on to stage at times for the old Hockey Night theme, and I have to say, that doesn't apply anymore.
Yes, it does. This won't be the last time, Dave. Just such an honor. And you retired?
Involuntarily.
That's right. No, you got big things coming, great ideas coming, and I know that. Why don't you take us to break?
So this will be an audition, shall we say. So, folks, action begins on 3 fronts in Montreal, Toronto, and St. Louis next on Hockey Night in Canada.